And welcome to the Nasboys Sports Podcast. So today we are going to be talking about the NBA news that was not covered in our recent episode. So if you have not seen that yet, go check it out. We covered all the other sports. We just didn't want that episode to be insanely long. So instead, we're going to talk about all the NBA news in this episode, which is mostly stuff about the trade deadline. So are you ready to get started?
Yeah, I am. There's a lot of things to talk about with the trades and all that, and there's a lot of goods and bads. So let's go ahead and get into this.
All right, so we're going to start off with the Blazers trading C.J. McCollum, Larry Nance Jr., and Tony Snell to the Pelicans for Josh Hart, Tomas Satoransky, Nikhil Alexander-Walker, Didi Lazuda, and draft compensation. Okay, in the episode before the last episode, we said there's no way this trade is going to happen because the Pelicans have no assets to trade away besides Brandon Ingram. I forgot
Yeah,
Josh Hart was on that team, and they did it. They did it literally the day that we uploaded the video. So that's actually not a bad move for the Pelicans if they can get Zion back to the way that he was, and also with Brandon Ingram, they could be a pretty solid team. Nothing too scary, but a decent team.
yeah. I mean, the Pelicans definitely won this trade because they have McCollum, but the only problem is he's injury prone too. But Larry Nance, really decent power forward. He can rebound and dunk. And then Tony Snell, I mean, he's a pretty underrated player. He could shoot. He could play the shooting guard or the small forward position. Now, Josh Hart, I'm surprised to see that they would get rid of Hart because he's been with them for a while. But Thomas Satoransky, I'm not surprised he's involved in this, or Nikhil Alexander-Walker. I'm surprised you said that Thomas Satoransky wasn't an asset, Mike, because I remember when you said you wanted him to stay on the Wizards.
When did I say that?
I'm pretty sure he did last year, didn't you?
No, I didn't. He left the Wizards by then. He got traded. I think I wanted there's a couple players I wanted to stay on the Wizards, but not Tomas Satoransky. He was
And then
long gone from the
I'm
Wizards.
probably tripping then. I'm probably tripping on that, but there was also Domantas Sabonis getting traded, which I think we were talking about that was probably going to end up happening.
Yeah, to the Sacramento Kings. The trade was for Tyrese Halliburton, Buddy Hield, and Tristan Thompson.
It's too
This
much.
trade is more fair than people think. The Pacers, they get Tyrese Halliburton. A lot of Kings fans, if I was a Kings fan right now, I would be both happy and a little upset. I think it's a lack of the Kings' depth that, they trade away Tyrese Halliburton because they don't have good enough players like some other teams where if you trade away that player, they got another player right there waiting. Tyrese Halliburton was one of their only options besides Fox, and they got rid of him. But they got a good big man that can shoot, and he can rebound like Sabonis. So it is a fair trade. And the Pacers, they did a good move, like I said, getting Tyrese Halliburton and Buddy Hield too. So that will help them if they trade Brogdon. So I think that was a great hole to fill for the Pacers after they traded away Karis LeVert as well. So I don't know. It's pretty hard to say who won the deal. I might go with the Pacers because they got Halliburton, and he's going to be a future All-Star. But
Yeah,
Sabonis is also really good for the Kings, so it's really hard to tell who won this trade.
well, the thing is, the Kings do have a lot of big men, but Sabonis added to that will help them a little bit. But losing Buddy Hield, he's a really good shooter, and Halliburton, that's a big loss for the Kings. That's pretty big. Tristan Thompson, I mean, he was doing decent as a backup, but I know Halliburton was pretty upset that he got traded. He was saying, I think he posted something about him saying it broke his heart that he got traded, and
Right.
I feel like they should have kept him. I mean, he did so good for them last year, and then this year he's a very I think he's an up and coming star, and for them to get rid of him, I thought was pretty ridiculous.
Right.
I knew Buddy Hield was probably going to get traded eventually because there's always been rumors about that. But I
Right.
was surprised for sure about Halliburton. That's all I could say about that.
I mean, again, it's a lack of depth.
But
Anyways,
next up, we got the big one. You know what I'm saying? Probably the biggest trade, and one that I'm so happy about, Mike. So happy as a Philly fan. We got Harden. We ended up getting Harden. And we got rid of Ben. So all is good right now for us in Philly, except for our record.
yeah, that trade was James Harden and LaMarcus Aldridge from the Nets. And the 76ers gave up Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, and Andre Drummond. Okay, the 76ers finally got their wish. They wanted Harden ever since he wanted out of Houston. Didn't get him then. Finally got him with Brooklyn. I was a little shocked that Harden wanted out, but I'm not sure if that's because he couldn't get along with Durant and Kyrie, or Harden is just, not really a great team player. So how is he really going to work with Embiid if he couldn't work with Durant or Kyrie?
Well, Harden and Kyrie have been known to not be great team players at times. And I think KD, Harden, and Kyrie only played a total of 16 games together just because of all the injuries that have happened. Personally, I thought Harden wasn't going to get traded after I heard that they were wanting to keep him. But thinking is like, oh, we're going to keep him. Oh, no, we're trading him. No, we're going to keep him for a couple of days. But Simmons looks pretty happy to be on the Nets now because he's alongside Kevin Durant. He's not in Philly anymore. And now he's like, oh, yeah, now I'm going to get back on the court.
Yeah, he's reconditioning, but also is dealing with mental health issues. So if he's really dealing with mental health issues, I hope he gets better, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's a ploy just to get out of Philly. And he got his wish. Philly got their wish, and he got his wish. And so far, the trade is not looking good. The Boston Celtics killed the Philadelphia 76ers 135-87.
Thank you, Mike, for bringing that up.
My question is, how is Harden and Embiid going to work together? Because they're both used to being leaders. I really hope that they can work together to be able to give Philly a championship, because Philly's got a great team now with those two at the helm. And they're both used to being the number one scoring option. So who knows how that's going to work out? I wouldn't be surprised if that leads to more problems for Harden and he wants out of Philly now. So we'll see what happens after that.
I hope he doesn't do that, but it is losing Seth Curry kind of hurts he was their best 3-point shooter. Andre Drummond was doing really good as a backup. But we also got LaMarcus Aldridge, who's been doing pretty good at the power forward position. I mean, he was a former All-Star, and he's a veteran. I think having him helps. But Philly still has a really good roster, regardless. And hopefully Philly can make it far in the playoffs.
Right.
But then again, Philly's been known to choke. So
yeah, and then you also lose out on center depth because Andre Drummond is out. So you guys better find a backup center in free agency.
Well, we got Paul Reed and Isaiah Joe.
They're not Andre Drummond, though. Andre Drummond's solid.
Their numbers were not. Some of their numbers have been kind of similar to Drummond last year, but they haven't had as much playing time this year because of Drummond. So, see how that goes.
I mean, fair point. I don't follow the Sixers like you do, so if I were the Sixers, I would try to sign a backup center if it doesn't work out with those guys. Maybe try them out, because obviously the teams are pretty much set till the playoffs, and now it's just time to push. And as for the Nets side of things, Ben Simmons, he's finally out.
I was going to say, as they would say, they're pushing P, pushing for the playoffs. But let's just move on.
The way you said that, pushing P.
What's the meme right nowadays? It's the number one meme going on.
I know, but just the way you said pushing P was so funny.
I had to say it once for the memes.
Anyways, as for Brooklyn getting Ben Simmons, I'm glad that the mock lineups are putting him at forward instead of guard. He's definitely a forward. So I think he could do pretty well if he just rebounds the ball and just drives in the paint. That's all he really does. Don't shoot the ball.
Exactly.
Just do your bread and butter, rebound and drive, and kick the ball out to Kyrie and Kevin Durant.
If
We got
Kyrie ever comes back.
yeah. We got the Clippers traded Serge Ibaka in a 4-team deal with Ibaka going to the Bucks, the Kings trading Marvin Bagley to the Pistons, Dante DiVincenzo to the Kings, as well as Josh Jackson, Trey Lyles, and the Clippers get Semi Ojeleye and Rodney Hood from the Bucks. Ooh, that is a big trade. Well, with multiple teams, not really a big trade. The Bucks get stronger in their forward depth with Ibaka, so that's going to help them a lot during the playoffs. Plus Bobby Portis and Giannis, of course.
Yeah, I mean, that's great. I mean, the Bucks, of course, getting even better now with Ibaka. Bagley going to Pistons. I knew he was going to be out eventually.
Yeah, everybody did.
Going to the Kings. Dante DiVincenzo going to the Kings, like that helps them because they lost Halliburton. But DiVincenzo is pretty good 3-point shooter. Then there's Josh Jackson and Lyles. Rodney Hood going to the Clippers helps a little bit. Semi Ojeleye and backup forward. But another big one that I thought was Goran Dragic going to the Spurs.
Yeah,
trading from the Raptors. Even though the Raptors got Goran Dragic in that Kyle Lowry deal,
right.
I'm surprised they're getting rid of him and send him to San Antonio, which I didn't like that trade at all.
Well, Goran, he was holding out a little bit, and then he wasn't really playing for the Raptors, but I think he still went to a couple games, and he is being bought out by the Spurs now, and a lot of teams are going to pursue him, like the Lakers.
Yeah.
But Goran Dragic, he's not that great. He was a decent point guard back in the good old days in the NBA, but now it's just started being decent. So,
speaking of well, this is an Eastern Conference team too. The Celtics, they traded PJ Dozier and Bol Bol to the Magic, which Bol Bol is just getting patched around more than Kendall Jenner is by the NBA. But him going again to a different team. Josh Richardson got traded, and he went to the Spurs, I think, too. So the Spurs got more guards. And then Derek White going to the Celtics, which, I mean, the thing is, the Celtics already have, like, Marcus Smart, and they have some decent guards, but Derek White's a pretty good pickup for them.
right.
I think that's better. That's a bigger deal. I think Derek White could do better than Richardson was doing for them.
I mean, Dozier, I'm not really too sure about the Celtics. Bol Bol is a good player. I don't know why he's getting passed around. So I hope he does good in Orlando. And that return was really bad for the Celtics. So Orlando won that trade, I think. Well, the second round pick helps a little bit because Orlando is not doing good, but it's not a first. And Orlando's got a pretty high first, but of course they're not going to give that up for Bol Bol. So I don't know why I said that. Boy, this one hurts. The Wizards traded Montrezl Harrell to the Hornets for Ish Smith, Vernon Carey Jr. I kind of figured Montrez was going to get traded. I was reading up a bit about it, and I heard there was a lot of like locker room problems, and there was a lot of rumors that maybe Trez didn't want to stay in Washington, which, like, as a Washington fan, I can't say I blame him, but it hurts, especially for the return they got for him. Like, Ish Smith, he's a decent guard. He's nothing too special, but he's good to come off the bench and get you some buckets and some assists once in a while. But who is Vernon Carey Jr.? I have never heard of this guy, and I was reading about him, and he averaged like 2 points a game or something like that. That is a terrible return for Montrezl Harrell. I know that, since he comes off the bench, they can't give him a first-round pick, but in my opinion, Montrezl Harrell is definitely worth a first-round pick. So Hornets definitely won that trade. Wizards got fleeced.
Well, I mean, Ish Smith returns to the Wizards, but yeah, for the Hornets, we need that. I mean, I feel like we need another big man, but I didn't expect it to be another forward, which I've been saying we should win after a center. like Miles Turner. But it's pretty close to see Harold returned to his home state. Here's a towel that I got from the Hornets game I went to last week. And for those that are new watching this, the Hornets are my favorite team in the NBA, and the 76ers are my second favorite team. But yeah, Vernon Carey Jr., he played for Duke. I mean, he's done really good in the G League and D League. So I mean, he could be a decent player. He's just not a star, and not a lot of people know about him yet. He hasn't had a whole lot of NBA experience in the big league.
Right. So enjoy Montrezl Harrell. I'm gonna miss him in DC. He was one of my favorite players. Let's see. The Wizards also traded Aaron Holiday to the Suns for cash. I mean, I can't say I'm too surprised by that. I mean, Holiday wasn't really getting too much playing time because the Wizards' rotations were kind of whack. So that's not too bad of a move. I wish that they got something a little more. I think they got a second-round pick out of it as well, but whatever. And this was the big move for the Wizards. They also traded Spencer Dinwiddie and Davis Bertans to the Mavericks for Kristaps Porzingis.
That's a W.
I think we won this trade because Spencer Dinwiddie, he's not as good as he was. He wasn't really as explosive. Davis Bertans is absolutely crap. He basically robbed us of $16 million a year. So wow. I'm so glad that Davis is gone, and I'm kind of glad that Spencer's gone. Out of the 3-point guards that the Wizards have had since I've been a fan, and I've been a fan for about 10 years, he's probably been the worst one that I've seen. Not saying he was terrible, but he's not a great guard, and I was a little hesitant about that signing, if you recall, when we did sign him.
Yeah,
so
I remember that.
I mean, my suspicions were somewhat right. I mean, he was coming off of a torn ACL, but I thought he would kind of adjust into it like Westbrook did, and he didn't. He didn't work well with Bradley Beal, and a lot of Wizards fans were saying that they should trade Bradley Beal, even though Bradley Beal is now out for the season with a wrist injury. But the Wizards are not like every other team. They do better without their superstar. So we'll see what happens with the Wizards. I still don't really see them making it to the playoffs, but
yeah, me neither.
I mean, I just don't know really what to say. I'm glad Dinwiddie's gone, so I hope maybe we can sign a better point guard that can actually produce and work well with Beal. John Wall, come back. I miss you. Come back, but I had to mention that.
Porzingis going to the Wizards is pretty good. But it's just like, is he going to play, or he's just going to get injured still? And
he's getting conditioned right now, along with Daniel Gafford, who was out because of health and safety.
Yeah. Let's see. The Mavericks, they re-signed Dorian Finney-Smith, and then Aaron Wiggins went to the Thunder. I've never heard of Aaron Wiggins at all.
Oh, Aaron Wiggins played for Maryland. He was a pretty great player. I wish that he stayed one more year. He's a great shooter, and he's been doing pretty well in the NBA so far. I mean, decent role player, I'd say. He's had a couple 20-point games here and there, I think, and also Jalen Smith has as well. I think the Pacers also picked up Jalen Smith, which if Jalen Smith develops to the potential that a lot of people think that he could, like Maryland fans, Pacers got a great replacement for Sabonis that can work well with Turner. So we'll see what happens with Jalen Smith. I think he's a good player, but once again, I'm biased. So
actually,
he's been showing that he can be a good player and produce, and he just wasn't getting enough playing time in Phoenix.
And speaking of injuries, we got Zach Levine having a knee injury. I don't know when this happened because he seemed fine in the Hornets game. Pat Connaughton having a fractured fourth metacarpal in his right hand. Which I don't know what that is, but he'll be back before the season. Norman Powell's out with a foot injury, and James Harden is not going to be in the All-Star game. So yet again, another star missing the All-Star game due to injury.
Yeah, and he did not play tonight as well. I wanted to check that, but he was not out there because of his hamstring.
I forgot who they said's replacing Harden in the All-Star game. So I saw
Jared Allen.
Yeah. I think Allen deserves it. I mean, he's doing pretty good for the Cavaliers. So
I gotta agree. Jared Allen definitely deserved it.
Cavs still third in the East, so I mean, hey, they're staying strong. But
Yeah,
the Heat have been doing good though. They're on a 5-game winning streak. They've moved up to first in the East still. Chicago second. Philly back to 4, so that's good to see. Celtics have arisen and waking up all of a sudden and are suddenly in 6th. Hornets still 9th. After their losing streak, they lost like 6 games in a row. But the Western Conference pretty much same. There was a really good game on, I want to say it was Saturday or Friday night. Yeah, it was Saturday night. The Lakers and Warriors game that night was pretty crazy.
yeah.
And we saw LeBron pass Kareem for most points all time.
James a 3. That's good. LeBron James with his 3rd three-pointer. And the Lakers, after trailing by 15, once again cut it to 1.
That's a great flare screen.
Well, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is the all-time leading scorer in NBA history. He was also the all-time leading scorer when you combine regular season and playoffs until tonight.
In that game. But I thought the Lakers were going to come back and win. Austin Reeves was doing well in that game, and they were coming back in a hurry. But later in the game, Klay Thompson got hot. He had 33 points. That was a really good game. Did you see that one?
I heard about it. I didn't watch it, but I did hear about that, and that's what I think is going to keep the Warriors into it. So if Klay Thompson can do that and get hot in the late minutes of the game, that's what I think is going to put them over the Suns. I know the Suns are considered the best team in the league right now, and a lot of people think they could win the championship, but I'm not counting the Warriors out.
You know, the Clippers actually beat the Warriors last night, despite their roster not having many players on them right now, because Clippers are without Paul George right now, Kawhi Leonard, and a couple other guys. I'm surprised they're 8.
Yet they were at the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and the Jazz are actually on a 6-game winning streak and have moved back up to 4th in the West. So other than that, none of the standings have really changed.
All right. So what about the All-Star events? We got the 3-point contest and the skills contest.
Yeah, the All-Star game's coming up on Sunday, which is during the 500, so I don't know if I'll be able to watch any of this. But
no, I'm not watching the All-Star game. I'm sorry.
What?
I said I'm sorry, but I'm not watching the All-Star game. Daytona 500 all day. I'm a huge NASCAR fan, as many of you guys know. You probably watch it because of the NASCAR podcast, but nah, man, I'm not gonna watch the All-Star game. I'm watching Daytona 500 for sure.
Plus, we'll probably be recording an episode of our thoughts about the 500 after the race. It also depends on what time the race is. But I don't know who's on the 3-point contest, so can you keep me up with that?
I'm trying to find that right now, but yeah.
I think the dunk contest, we talked about that last week and how we thought John Morant should have been in it and Miles Bridges.
Yeah.
Okay. The 3 teams set to compete in the skills challenge are the Antetokounmpos. So that's Alex Antetokounmpo, plays on the Raptors G League team. There's Giannis and Giannis. And then the Cavaliers, Jared Allen, Darius Garland, and Evan Mobley. And then the Rooks, Scotty Barnes, Kate Cunningham, and Josh Giddey. But Josh Giddey, I think him being in the skills challenge is pretty cool.
I think the Rooks are going to win that. Maybe the Cavaliers.
But the Rooks are faster. But then again, we think about the Cavs too. Those guys, I don't know if they'll probably have a hard time with the 3-point shot. But I think they have a chance. But the Rooks will probably end up winning. The 3-point contest. Do you have that?
Yeah, the 3-point contest. We got Desmond Bain, C.J. McCollum, FVV, Trey Young, Patty Mills, Luke Kennard, Zach Levine, and Karl Anthony Towns. I think I'm gonna go with Trey Young winning this one, or Patty Mills could do it too. He's been a very underrated shooter this year.
You know what? I think Patty Mills is gonna win this, and if not Patty Mills, I'm gonna say Luke Kennard.
Luke Kennard, that's another underrated shooter.
Yeah, Kennard's been a sniper shooter since his days in Duke.
Yeah.
Then we talked about the dunk contest with Cole Anthony, Jalen Green, Obi Toppin, and Juan Toscano Anderson. And I think
Obi.
I want to say I want Jalen Green to win, but I want to say Obi Toppin wins.
Yeah, that's a good pick. All right. That's going to conclude this mini episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. Comment, like, and subscribe. Make sure you guys follow our socials, and we will see you guys in the next episode. Peace.
What's up? See y'all.
You want me calling now, you wanting what I think. All these women lie, push me to the brink.